That's the computer telling me I better get it together and get this live started. Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Jackie Glass, Mama, Navy Vet Certified Doer, and your delegate, the laced up legislator. We're working this morning, and I'm just getting in, and I hope that you guys are going to make it a great day too. I was trying to hustle and bustle because, let me take this off. Trying to hustle and bustle because I want to do a better job at like labeling these videos. So when you guys come in, it's not like, what's she talking about? Okay, it's already there. That's like the important part. But this week has been, good morning, Conrad. Good morning, y'all. Thank you so much this morning. Yeah, it's been a week. It's been a week of like learning new things. And as I said in the opening for this, it has been all about the money. Now, I know when I was like, yeah, I'll do this thing. I'll run for this office. They're like, what are your priorities? What is your vision? And I kept saying, like, I need to bring money back. Like my whole mind was set on money. And I know, yeah, it is a whole thing. Like, as a wise constituent just said to me yesterday, he said this to me yesterday walking by. He said, if you find the money, the problems get easier. And I said, oh, okay. So that's what we're doing. And I hope you guys are doing well. But we're going to talk about this budget today. I was taught, Conrad, you said the Senate killed the minimum. Yes. So what Conrad is talking about, and I'll find the bill number as we talk because it's important. Like if y'all when we all get smart on this, we're going to be doing this like no other. Conrad seemed like you need to give a master class on this stuff. But so there was a bill in the House to to eliminate minimum wage. So I oftentimes am fascinated by the reasoning people give to do things like that. So I'm looking for it. I think it was Delegate Freitas's bill, Control F. So what I'm doing right now as we talk is I went on LIS. LIS is Legislative Information System. So Virginia has this website called lis.virginia.gov, and that's where like you can look up bills. You can look up all the things. If you like have wrote to me and got a letter back, it will tell you that it'll here it is. Yeah. Okay, it'll tell you how to get to LIS and how we use it. You'll be able to track any bill that anybody puts in. You can track it. So good morning. This is what Conrad was talking about before we get into the budget. And I need y'all to know this because this is the type of things that happen up here. We talk about, federal law governing us to do certain things. The state, because we're a commonwealth, I said the states, but we're a commonwealth, we have a lot of we exercise a lot of insight and control over what happens across the Commonwealth because that's how a Commonwealth works. And I mean, because we have Dillon rule, right? Which means pretty much we are the parents of this state, and the cities really can't do a whole lot without us saying, yeah, you got the leeway to do it, or saying we want you to do that. So it's really, this work is super, super important. But Conrad said there was a bill by Delegate Freitas, House bill, and it'll be called, I say HB. When I say HB, I mean House Bill 320, which was to remove increases relating to the minimum wage, to pretty much stop it, no more minimum wage, because as was argued is that people should be able to negotiate with their employer for wages. Yep, that's right. I said it. So I thought it was, I sometimes wonder what types of work folks have been in to really understand, to really know like what it means to have an employer that's like, I'm not going to pay you nothing. Why I want to negotiate. There has to be some minimums. But anyway, like Conrad said, it got killed. It got killed in the Senate. So remember I said it comes to the House and then it went over to the Senate. The Senate took it, looked at it and was like, are you knucking futs? No. Actually, Senator Sasslaw was talking about it last night. He was like, a dog walker gets paid $20 an hour. Yeah. Yes. And oh, Conrad. See, Conrad, you'll have me talking about this all day. I want to get into the budget. Delegate Sally Hudson. And if you want to, I think it was on, I can't remember what day it was. Conrad, if you can, which session that was, but there is a delegate, Sally Hudson from, I think Charlottesville is her area. She is a professor, an economist, and she really gave a master class on why that is an absolute absurd thing to do to get rid of minimum wage. She did. It was more than a checkmate. It was like, can I sit in your classroom? And that's what makes this all fun, is that there's some really, really, really great minds here that are really thinking about things the way we aren't. Her debate. Oh, there is. Drop it in the, Conrad said there's a great YouTube about her debate with Fridas. You need to drop it in the comments so people can see. I'm going to roll into this budget. So first off, if you saw my post on Sunday, we got to sit and listen to the Appropriations Committee for the House and the Senate talk about their budgets, because the House makes a budget and the Senate makes a budget. They do amendments and stuff, and then afterwards, actually, I'm about to talk about that. Why am I trying to do it so fast? Because I told you I'm going to explain this. So I made my little budget binder, right? I said little budget binder. It's a big budget binder. I'm playing. About this budget. Here's what you need to know. Here's what I'm about to walk through real quick this morning, right? And do drop your comments in the chat, because this is super important to know how this stuff works. Because, why am I saying because again? It's super important to know how this works, and we're going to relate it back to the local level, because all politics is local, and people don't say that for no reason, because that's some real stuff. So I'm going to talk about the state budget, talk about how that relates to the local budget, and what you can do right now to help us get that cash. All right. So the Virginia state budget, and I made notes, y'all. I came prepared today. So the Virginia state budget, it is a biennial budget, which means that, how do I want to say this? Oops. Our budget is biennial, so it's a biennial budget system. So that means that we adopt a budget every 2 years. So we're only adopting a budget every 2 years. So the budget is enacted into law on the even number of years. So this year, we'll be yes, that budget is law, and we're going to use this budget for 2 years. And then on the odd years, we make amendments to that budget, right? So this year, we're making amendments to our previous budget, right? Or no. Next year, we'll make amendments to the budget we did this. So if we're you know what, we need to change that around, that happens in the next year. So for example, if for the budget that's going to be adopted in 2022, in 2023, we're going to consider the adjustments that we need to do based on our revenue and our forecast and our spending and our priorities, right? That's going to happen. It's important to pay attention to the budget, because yesterday we were having a conversation about the Republican Party was saying, hey, we're spending more money than ever on K-12. Ever. It's in the history of the Commonwealth, we're spending more money. But part of the money that they're accounting for in the budget for K-12, it sounds good, but they're counting on casino money, which doesn't really exist right now. Not one casino has broken ground, or actually so to say that that's included in the budget, it's we don't even know if we'll be getting that money in 2 years, but you're touting this as the largest K-12 budget. You're just adding that little piece onto it's wild. So paying attention, and I'm learning how to pay attention. Okay, so when we develop this process, it takes a lot of months, right? And it includes people like you, state agencies, and the legislator. And there's a five-stage process, right? And I need you to know this process, because I need to know where you got to get in early, because what you don't want to do is start trying to be a part of this budget process, whether it's on the state or the local level, when it's already too late. And that happens when they're asking for public comment. It's probably too late. It's probably too late. So the first step is in the state level. these different agencies. So the Department of Education, Department of Transportation, Department of Public Health, Department of Public Safety, all these different agencies, they prepare their like budgets. They start analyzing where the state is with their programs. They're thinking about what do they need, what strategic planning needs to happen. They review their mission and how well your customers, how well their customers are satisfied with what they're doing. They do their public input. So the state level agencies, right, they're doing their input. That starts really early. And based off that, what they do is they send it to the Department of Planning and Budget. The Department of Planning and Budget. And if you're in the Norfolk area, that's a state agency, but if you're in the Norfolk area, it's the Department of Budget and Strategic Operations. And there's a gentleman by the name of Greg who is the department head for that. Greg is the one that'll be going around the city saying, introducing the budget to us and sort of telling us, like they did that budget game last year. I don't know if you could do it online, but he's the head of that. So everybody in the department, so the state level, they're doing their stuff. On the local level, your departments and stuff are saying, hey, here's what we need. That's phase one. So in phase two, once everybody sent their stuff over to the budget office, right? Greg got all the work and the state people got the work. They're going to analyze these budget requests and verify the costs. They're going to confirm if that's actually a need for a service. They're going to investigate any other alternative spending, right? They're going to be like, well, y'all want us to fund it this way. Maybe we need to fund it that way. They're going to look at the policy side of things. And for us, they're going to take in the governor's considerations. And on the local level, they're going to take away the mayor and the council's considerations, right? They're going to look for issues and see how these things line up with their priorities too. This is why having council members that gel with your thought process is like super important. And so this whole analysis process takes place in the fall for the state level, right? Give you a little secret. It starts in the fall for the local level too. I'm gonna be honest, actually it starts right after they do their budget. So I'm gonna say summertime is when we already need to be advocating, right? So in the summertime, before they start baking that cake, as my friend said, it's like, look, by the time the budget comes to us, it's like a cake. It's already been in the oven for 20 minutes. You can't unbake what already been baked. So that process for them starts in the fall as I look at my notes. So in late fall, the governor and his cabinet secretaries, they work together to propose a budget that reflects the administration's priorities. So like the governor's like, yo, late fall, like, what do we want? Same like with your mayor and council. They're like, yo, what do we want? And what are our priorities? And then they're going to submit that. The governor, they're going to submit that to the General Assembly. That's where we up here, right? Your senators and your delegates. Your council and your mayor, they're going to submit that to the city manager, right? Like to the city manager, and he is in charge of, he's like the CEO of our city. So just so that you know, the most powerful person in our city, it's not the mayor or the council, it's the city manager, because that person is essentially the CEO of our city. Just like, the governor is essentially the CEO of the Commonwealth, but it's different. So it's at the executive level there. On the other, for us, we have a power dynamic in the city of Norfolk that's called a strong, I can't get it out. Strong manager, weak mayor. And that's not to say the mayor is weak, but it's called the weak mayor because the powers of the mayor is not really to manage the inner workings of the city. That power is directed, or that responsibility is directed to the city manager. So oftentimes when we're advocating, we got to get at the city manager. However, the city manager works in the service of the council and the mayor. So that's why all that stuff matters. All right. So then the governor is going to submit the proposal to the General Assembly before December 20th, right? December 20th in the form of a bill. So let me holler at you on this. Like the bill, our state level budget is a bill, right? It's a whole damn bill. So it is House Bill 29 and House Bill 30. Let me show you something here, right? So when I'm looking at my little book here, you might be able to see it, but like this is like all the stuff right here. It says House Bill 29 as introduced. But then when I roll to this other piece, hold on, it's two different things. So that's the amendments for FY 2022. And then remember, biannual budget. That's a fact. Yeah, I didn't know that either, Denise, at first, until I started trying to learn civics. Like, who do I talk to? Oftentimes, we're talking to the wrong people. I hate to say that. Is that, oh, here it is. This is the big baby. Okay, and this is the budget overview. House Bill 30 as introduced. So that's House Bill 30. So the budget is a bill. Just making sure you guys know that. And it gets treated as such. So when we're talking about what we're talking about the mayor and the council, yep, they are going to start working with, like I said, the city manager at that point. A lot of times before the end of the year, they have submitted their priorities, and the city manager and the Office of Budget and Strategic Operations or Strategic Planning, I can't remember which one it is, what it's called, but Greg, that's in the city of Norfolk, Greg is getting that stuff together and starting to build out the presentation and the things that we see. So on the state level, the budget, House bill, right? That House bill, that bill, which is 29 and 30, it's a legal document. The budget becomes, and it's listing all of the appropriations in detail, line item by line item. So what happens is they're going to distribute this thing called a budget document, which sets forth all the proposals that have been made. They make it readable for people like you and me to be like, oh, okay. And the budget document is actually a document of the executive branch, and I will tell you where it can be found. Hold on, I'm going to give you the website as we do this. So what I did is I went to DPB, so that's the Department of Planning and Budget, .virginia.gov. And I can go there and I can see all of the stuff that was proposed by who do you think it's proposed by? Because I said it's a biannual budget. We do it every 2 years. So 22, that means the last governor. I can see Governor Northam's budget document because he was in that. We planned ahead for this year, so we're actually altering the Governor Northam's budget with Governor Youngkin's priorities, if that makes any sense. And we're going to enact it into law this session. So as of today, right, that was phase one. Phase one is where the agency starts figuring their stuff out. Phase two was where the governor figures his stuff out or her stuff out one day. And yeah. Okay, I did that right. Right, that's the development phase where we're developing. And as of today, we're in phase three. So this is the legislative action phase. So the General Assembly, again, that's us, the senators and delegates, they're going to convene every year on the second Wednesday of January. Y'all saw we did that January 12th this year. And the governor's proposed budget is going to be submitted to us, to the General Assembly, in the form of that bill that I told you, because the budget is a bill. Okay, in each house, both the Senate and the House, the budget is referred to these committees that hold public hearings and hold committee discussions, because we talked about committees, y'all, right? Every bill got a life. It goes from a subcommittee to a committee, then to the floor, and we vote on it. For the House, we have the committee is called the Appropriations Committee, right? So appropriations pretty much how you pay and stuff. That committee is breaking down into the subgroups, the subcategories, subcommittees, couldn't get it out, that are associated with all these other big committees. Like there's a one on higher education, K-12, secondary education, health and human services, all these different. But anyway, so Appropriations Committee on our side. On the Senate side, it's called the Senate Finance and Appropriations Committee. So Finance and Associates. So the committees, they introduce amendments to the budget, right? And after all of let me backtrack. So they're going to introduce like the amendments, which is changes, but oftentimes each party has people on these committees, and we're working with our person that's on that committee to be like, hey, yo, I want this in the budget. I want this in the budget. I want this in the budget. We submit actual budget amendments the same way we submit bills or changes to bills, because the budget is a bill. Actually, it's two bills, essentially. The budget is billed together. We submit that, and then we let our people know, I put this amendment in. This is what's most important to me. I remember we had a conversation last week where our appropriation folks were like, you need to tell me your top two priorities. I don't care if you put 30 things in as amendment. What are your top two? Email them so we can really work to get those things. This is where collaboration comes in. So after they have reviewed these, the budget is amendment and brought to the House floor. And that for us, that coming to the House floor, that's going to happen on Thursday. So on Thursday, it's going to be a long day of like budget. We'll be doing that. Brought to the House floor where amendments can also be made. So each House, again, the Senate and the House of Delegates, votes on their amended bill. Actually, that happened. We voted on our amended bill. After each House votes on its own version of the bill then crosses over. Right? I don't know if y'all remember crossover. What does that tell you it probably is going to do? When it has to cross over, if we vote on our stuff, it's got to cross over. It's going to go over to the Senate, right? Like that's what crossover means, where they're going to debate on our stuff and they're going to talk all they talk and be like, no, yes, agree, disagree, blah, blah, blah. All right. And then before we adjourn as a General Assembly, before the session is over, there's going to be this thing called a conference. And I hope this isn't boring to you, but it's exciting to me because we're trying to find out where that money is. So after each side debates, we've debated the Senate side, they've debated the House's side. We go to this thing called the conference, which I'm really excited about because I feel like that's like the coming to the table and the last negotiations. I'm a lover of conflict, and because not all conflict is bad, but I think conflict can lead to some beautiful things. So we're trying to deconflict our budgets. It's a beautiful thing before we adjourn. That has to happen before we leave. And then once we've got the two versions of the budget passed, the General Assembly, we're going to send that budget on to the governor for his review or her review one day. For signature, right? So essentially, it don't matter what we do down here, right? The governor still is going to have to sign off on that budget. So remember, we're in phase 3, the legislative phase. And once we get our stuff together on Thursday, once we do all of our debating and stuff and send our stuff, so that's what we're doing. We as a House are voting on our budget bill on Thursday. Which means we still have to do conferencing. There's still these other things. And this is a first for me, so I'm just trying to pay attention so we can share it with you. Phase 4, remember I said it's 5 phases to this budget junk, right? Phase 4 is the governor's phase, right? So the governor's got it. We sent our stuff to him. The Senate sent their stuff to him. And the governor's going to review the bill, because the budget is a bill, passed by the General Assembly. He might sign it. He might veto the entire thing. What I mean by veto is be like, nah, I'm not feeling it. Or he can take and veto certain line items, be like, I don't like the way y'all spent on policing. I'm changing. I don't like the way you spent on education. I'm vetoing that. Or he could also make recommendations. So knowing that the governor can do several things, right? He can sign the budget bills and be like, yes. He can veto it altogether or get rid of line items, or he can just say, hey, can we change this? Can we work together and change this and make amendments? So if the governor vetoes the bill or any items in the budget, because the budget is bill, I keep saying this, right? It has to come back to us during reconvene. So then that means we come back. I think we come back in April. We have to come back and it goes back to us in session, and we have to look through the recommendations or whatever it is that the governor has done. I'm reading return it. Yeah, take action. So then once we that's it. Pretty much we got to go through and take a look at the considerations, accept or not accept the governor's proposed amendments. That's what we got to do. That's phase 4. So that's all the governor. Phase 5 is the budget execution phase. So when the budget is passed by the General Assembly, it gets enacted into law on July 1st. July 1st. So remember I said before, we have a biannual budget. In even years, we are enacting our budget. In odd years, we are making amendments. So this year, we should be enacting a budget, and that's going to go into effect July 1st. So when we're talking about all this money, all these bills, right? Conrad wrote earlier, there was a bill to get rid of minimum wage. If that bill was approved during this session, it goes into law July 1st. And you'll see in the newspaper, right? You'll see in the pilot and on the news, they'll say, here are some interesting here's some interesting laws that'll be coming down July 1st. July 1st is a big day in the Commonwealth. Yep. And that's really it. Like that's That's it. So remember, the legislative side is when you guys get, because we're asking questions, we're asking for your feedback. I got this big old presentation. Look, this is what we did. I'll tell you some of the highlights of the budget that I know so far. There's a lot of tax relief budgets, and I know like you and I are probably looking like, yes, tax relief. What we have to also remember when we're talking tax relief, y'all, is that, tax money goes to something, right? And when we say, oh, we're not collecting taxes for something, that there oftentimes is a sacrifice that we're going to be making on something else. So for instance, I think we talked about the grocery tax. I think that's one where the grocery tax supported two things. It supported education and transportation. Well, taking away the grocery tax, it was like, yeah, we'll continue that education stuff for schools, but in another place we'll get that money from somewhere else. But the transportation piece, y'all short. Yep. So know that there's a lot of tax relief stuff in there. I'm reading this was the core priorities of the House's budget. So to enhance our reserves, which we've got a lot of money in reserves, like we were fiscally responsible, plus we had a pandemic. And then we have ARPA money, and I promise you, I went through this bill, and every time I saw ARPA, I highlighted it. If you don't know what ARPA is, it's the American Rescue Plan money. That's that money that came from the federal government and trickled down to us. Let me just say this again. It's called the American Rescue Plan money, and I'm underlining rescue, right? It's supposed to help us. It's your money. And so I'm looking at what's happening with the American Rescue Plan dollars very, very carefully, because it's a once in a generation type of windfall that we got that should be used wisely. So one of my biggest gripes with the way this budget has us using American Rescue Plan money, it's like $100 million for equipment for police. Now, I love my police officers, right? Like the people that I work with, I'm cool with. However, one of the things that ARPA told us is that we've got to start looking at non-policing solutions to public safety, because we know that housing and education do more for crime than prisons or police. And I think that we have police officers that recognize that, right? Yep. I think that we have people that recognize that. So cooperatively, I'm wondering, how do we get sheriffs, police departments, police chiefs at the table to start thinking about, like, how do we advocate better on this? Because not only are we increasing the spending in the budget, which is a plus, because the money that we're increasing in the budget for policing is going to wages, which they do need. They ain't getting paid much. Teachers, same way with teachers. So the police are not getting paid much. We need to do those pay increases, but do we need to give an additional $100 million of rescue money? Remember, I'm saying rescue for that effort. I don't think so, but okay. So I'm about to wrap it up, I promise. Okay, so these are the 6 priorities: increase our reserve, improve tax release to all Virginia citizens, assist localities with addressing the needs for base K-12 requirements and school improvements. That means if your schools are bust down. Speaking of which, in Norfolk, I know there's a lot of talk about shutting down schools. I've heard about the Lindenwood piece. I've heard about all that. We have to stay abreast of that. When I was campaigning for school board in 2018, I went inside of Lindenwood and the ceiling was leaking. You could see the water marks and things like that. We infrastructurally have not done very well with preventative maintenance to keep our facilities above standard. That's really weird to me as a sailor, because on a ship, we're always doing preventative maintenance to keep that thing afloat. And I wish we had respect for our buildings in that way. But just remember, our city owns our school buildings. So while our school system uses the buildings, the city of Norfolk owns all the facilities. So then we also have our third thing, which is supporting strategic investments to address human and health resource requirements for vulnerable citizens. Continue the tradition of making college more affordable. There will be, I saw in this budget, the House budget, there should be a no more than 3% increase in any state tuition, and providing meaningful employees compensation to create for employees. So compensation. My highlights, I'm just trying to make sure this budget's going to ensure that 40% of the lottery proceeds are returned back to school divisions. I don't know if y'all know this, but lottery money, Lottery money was supposed to be school money on top of the money that we already gave to schools. What happened was they was like, hey, y'all get this lottery money now. Now we can pull back a little bit and not spend as much. No, we were supposed to keep that spending going, and also on top of that give lottery money. So that was a highlight that I got, that lottery money was going, 40% is at least going to go back to school divisions, which troubles me, like what wasn't going. There is they're trying to incentivize schools to construction. What's happening, like I told you guys earlier, this source fund, so we're getting $291.7 million from our general funding, and $250 million for literary funds for school construction, on top of the funded whatever comes from the casino. But remember I said, like, the casino thing, that's imaginary money, y'all. I'm doing the highlights, but I do want to spend some time on each committee, sort of going through the highs and lows. And you can ask your questions. I don't have all the answers, Sway, but I have some. So if you got any questions in these next, I'll say we'll take 3 or 4 more minutes, and I'll try to answer them. And as I go through the highlights, so drop them in the comments. I saw there's going to be more support for group homes, for development disability waivers are going to be handled better. A lot of community and mental health money going in places I was really excited about. Support for nursing homes. I saw this. There's this new Virginia, it's sort of new program, Virginia Mental Health Access Program, to extend children mental health services through pediatricians and ER physicians. That got a 26% increase in pay. That's something new. Yeah, I'm actually, Conrad, and I'll chill it there. We'll go deeper in this. Conrad asked a good question. Any Republican bills you've actually liked? Yes, I actually signed on to 2 Republicans bills. One was about adult with disabilities, missing persons. I really like that bill, that we need to consider that oftentimes there are adults with disabilities that don't get an Amber Alert, that don't get a Silver Alert, but like there's a need to sort of make sure that we are making police practices better, so that when a person says, if I as a parent have an adult with, I'm caring for an adult with disabilities and they go missing, that there's an immediate response and it's not treated as the same way as, I don't mean to say as a person with a different neural ability is treated when they go missing. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. The second bill I signed on to, that was the A.C. Cordoza bill, was a Glenn Davis bill. There are 2 young ladies from Virginia Beach that wanted to make the process for restaurants to be able to give their leftover, like, canned goods that are past the Best By day, because we know, like, Best By dates doesn't mean it's spoiled. It's just like, hey, it'll taste the Best By that day without liabilities. Right now, restaurants weren't giving that food out because they were afraid of the liability. We just created space for them to do that. These 2 young women have been feeding folks in Virginia Beach. Like, they're phenomenal. And I'm looking forward to working with them. So how do I find Republican bills that I actually like? Absolutely. Do I tell them? Yes. There was a Republican bill that got shut down that I thought I was really excited to see it, that made it so that when you mail-in absentee vote, that instead of having to have a witness, right? Instead of having to have the witness, that you had to put your last 4 and your birth date so they can verify that it was actually you. We saw during the pandemic that was really stressful. I think it was Delegate Bloxham's bill that he put forward to make it so that the requirement was just a signature, not a signature, because signature requirements are not smart. I don't know about you. It depends on the day of the week on how my signature look. Monday, it could look like I write like the neatest person in the world. On Friday, it could look like hee haw hell. Like, what did she just write? So rather than trying to verify signatures, which is what we're essentially doing right now, that the same thing you use to put a candidate on a ballot is the thing you use to verify yourself. So yes, I do find Republican bills that I like. Conrad said Delegate Court relatively, and yeah, he was in the national news, not over office cookies and not over. Oh, really? I hope that was. I know there was some things where he was in the national news before, but I'm not 100% sure if there's been anything more recent. But that's it. That's all, y'all. Thursday's going to be a wild day. So when I come on here Thursday, that day is going to be we'll start off early in the morning together, but that actual day is going to be really long because we're doing all of our budgets. So, yep, today, Tuesday, I'm looking my paper, it's highlighted. Tuesday, if you can see, the House Bill 29 and 30 are going to be on their first read. Remember we talked about the first read? So in the House, a bill, because the budget is a bill, is on the calendar for 3 days. The first read is just notifying us, hey, this is coming. The second read, we're going to introduce it. So tomorrow somebody's going to introduce and say, hey, these are the bills. This is what they do. And then the third read on Thursday is where we're actually going to vote on it. It's a big deal. I need you to recognize that getting involved in this process starts early. It is the summertime that we need to be advocating to our legislators, to our city council about our budgets. Because remember, if we wait till the end of the year, they cooking that stuff. They mixing it up already in the fall. And you do not want to get in when you want to get in before they're mixing. You want to make sure that your ingredients, what you're looking for your community, is already in that batter before it goes into the oven. All right? Because that's what we're going to do. This all matters. I know we talked a little bit about resources in your space and place. Community-wise, y'all understand that there's some redistricting that probably is going to happen in the city of Norfolk, and that says a lot, right? How districts are made up, what's happening, what kind of resources, how does the budget serve where you live, your ward, right? How does the budget serve your district, right? We have to be thinking about, it's a yes and, because money trickles down, as Conrad said, from the federal government to the state, and from the state to the local. So you need to be holding me accountable for saying, what kind of money are you bringing to our city? And then looking at the council and the mayor, like, what kind of money are you putting into my ward? Right? Because I drove through Ocean View and I was like, wow, I haven't lived there for 5 or 6 years, and you can see the investments that have been made. And it's exciting in a way because it's our city developing, but it's also heartbreaking because I know that ain't none of that probably affordable over there. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I know we don't have an inclusionary housing policy in the city. But I also look at how, my daughter reminded me when we were walking in certain neighborhoods and we're canvassing, is that we can't even walk side by side on the sidewalk. So it's super important this summer as we build, yes, thank you, Denise, as we build these policy work groups. I'm focusing on the state level and what I can bring back to the local level, but I need you guys right now. They're probably going to pay attention to the council meetings because they're going to start taking public input on these budgets. You got to be at the table, and then we have to be thinking about 2023 as soon as it's enacted, right? Yes. Denise, I'm so excited. And if you need anything from me, please make sure that you email our office. It's deljglass@house.virginia.gov. Don't beat me up. Or go to the website. It's delegatejackieglass.com. Keep us informed. I need you to send me your people. If you have an honor roll student, a parent, a friend, uncle, cousin, your favorite, grocery store worker, we want to be celebrating, because our mission here is to educate, advocate, celebrate. That's our mission, right? Educate, advocate, celebrate. That's what we're doing. And we got to get these resolutions in by the 1st of the month. So this week, send us your people, right? Send us, don't worry about if it's a marriage that you want to, all that good stuff. And if you're not sure, just send it and we'll let you know. Okay? All right. So, again, this has been Jackie Glass, Mama, Navy vet, certified doer, and delegate for the 89th District for the House of Delegates, laced up legislator. We stay laced up because we stay ready to go. I am so proud of you all for taking the time to spend time this morning. Thank you, Miss Sharon. And thank you for you guys who have already signed up for our policy work groups, because we will get some stuff done. We're going to do it. All right, nerds, because I'm feeling like a nerd this morning, ready to go, fired up. All right, talk to you guys soon. You guys make it a great Tuesday, and I'll see you on Thursday morning.